Kia ora, hello. Today we're going to discuss the Chaperon. The man flu is almost over, but I'm still a bit sick. Excuse excessive cuts as I have to sneeze and or cough. If you follow me on Facebook or Instagram, you've seen some of my recent posts regarding the construction of my hood. In short, this was constructed using a heavy Melton 100% wool cloth. I used a modified commercial pattern. I used 4 different stitches to construct this hood: slip stitch, back stitch to reinforce any seams such as under the neck and face hole. These were under pressure, a felling stitch and stab stitch. To see how to slip stitch and back stitch, catch our medieval sewing series, I've used silk thread to sew this hood. It must be said that the side gores on the hood are not based on a common style. Most extant pieces with the side gore appear to have a single piece side gore. It was only in researching this video I found examples of a multi-piece side gore. It just goes to show what diligent research can do. All images I use in the video will be sourced and linked below for your convenience, unless they were taken by me. If you wish to watch a tutorial on how to tie a chaperon, there will be a second part to this video featuring several ways in which to wear a chaperon in a jaunty fashion. What I wanted from this project: I wanted a hood that functioned both as a hood in cold weather, as well as a stylish hat that was appropriate for someone portraying either a wealthy burgher or a noble, should I decide to stray into that impression again. So I'm going to show you 3 examples of extant patterns. So let's talk about some extant hoods and how my hood compares to these extant patterns. I'm using images from Mark Carlson's website instead of any mentioned books. This is to avoid copyright infringement. Mark has put his research up and online, and frankly it is some of the best stuff online. We always end up referring back to his work, and that link will be below. That said, if you can afford, please look at buying textiles and clothing and woven into the earth. Otherwise, head out to your local library to see if you can borrow these out. So the first hood is 174 from Textiles and Clothing. The head has triangular side gores. These gores were cut probably from under the chin to save fabric. They were sewn into the side to give a fuller span in the hood across the shoulders. This saves fabric and has a better fall across the shoulders. The Norland 80 also has a triangular gore in the shoulders. This is from Woven into the Earth. It also has a separate liver pipe added into the rear of the hood like mine. It is not integral to the hood. Much to my delight, the Norland 71 has a 3-part gore in the shoulders. Mine has 2-part gores though. Having cut my hood out with large sweeping front and back, I can see how you'd want to get some fabric saved by splitting this gore up, especially since it is so wide. It must be said that medieval tailors would piece together garments from fabric and not use a single piece for a part. This may be odd to our modern eye based on our understanding of modern garment construction. However, this was frequently done to save on the precious resources that was fabric. I often cite the Charles de Bois jupon as evidence of this, since it seemingly has non-functioning gores, by which I mean they do not come under stress or movement in the garment. These were most likely put there in place to save precious silk brocade. My brief time working as an industrial fabric cutter taught me about fabric conservation and how to effectively lay out work with minimal wastage. I see this inherently in the medieval pattern making trade, and basic shapes seem to preserve much of the material and reduce wastage, unlike later cuts and styles which are more wasteful. When you become aware of this, you can see when fabric drops in price and the availability of fabric, fashion changes. Let's have a chat about depictions of the hood and the appearance of the chaperon in art. The hood was a ubiquitous piece of medieval headwear. It kept you warm and dry. However, by the end of the 14th century and the beginnings of what we would call fashion, this everyday garment took on a new life. By the 1370s, art has begun to depict people wearing their hoods, not only as hoods, but also placing the face hole on top of their head and wearing the hood as a hat. It's not only the nobility performing this act of fashionable hood wearing. First up, we have labourers, and one is wearing their hood as a chaperon. Now, the one wearing the chaperon may very well be a Grand Master Mason or other master of the trade. It would be reasonable to assume here that this is not a noble. This image is dated between 1375 to 1380. Here we have a lovely image of Achilles dragging Hector in front of Troy. Although this is a mythic scene, we can reasonably look at the clothing and fashion as not being too fantastic. We see Achilles' chaperon is depicted as a hood with a liripipe and shoulders not secured to the head. This image is dated 1380. Moving on in time, we can see a more structured idea of the chaperon. Depictions of the chaperon being tied up with the liripipe. This still coexists with the hood as a garment, however. Honourable mention in this image to the helmet over a green hood. This image is dated 1380 to 1400. Here we have a brilliant image in my opinion. Once again, it is a mythic image as it is depicting a scene from the trials of the Holy Grail. However, the clothing and fashion is not too unbelievable. We see the chaperon as clearly painted as a hood. This leaves no doubt in my mind the chaperon evolved from the hood. This image is dated 1470. Lastly, we have a depiction at the back of the image of a chaperon with a roll face hole and a badge, while at the front we have someone wearing a hood open over the shoulders while wearing a hat. This image is dated between 1400 and 1420. I believe it is important here to discuss the evolution of the hood into the chaperon, as the chaperon became a garment in its own right instead of a repurposed hood. We see the development from the hood to a fully formed chaperon. This consisted of a ring of fabric to emulate the face hole, which attached a faux tube with dagging, and to emulate the shoulders, and a liripipe. This piece of headwear makes an appearance in the 15th century and seems to exist either side by side with the hood or may even supersede the hood as the chaperon, though I would need to do further research to be clear. I think the outcome of this project is that I would want to make another hood, this one not for the purpose of being a chaperon, although I probably will wear it as one since I cannot help myself. I love chaperons. But this I will want to wear under helmets, as I've seen depicted in several times in images and reliefs. The hood was a ubiquitous medieval garment and a much needed part of a late medieval reenactor's wardrobe. I am surprised that I have waited all these years to make myself one. This may have been because I lived in Australia and the only headwear I needed really was a large straw hat to stop the sun burning me. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions or anything to add, please comment. Otherwise, remember to stay safe, have fun, and keep reenacting.